Hello my friends, it's Gabriel with The Last Huntsman Outdoors here, and this is part 2 of the top 5 camp knife showdown. On this part, we're going to be just doing kind of a little light chopping test. Now obviously these are all roughly about 5-inch blades. They're not going to be really the greatest at chopping. They're kind of small for that. But as like a camp knife, I think that camp knife is kind of meant for that general purpose knife, so it should be able to do just a little bit. And one caveat here, every knife here is a great knife. I own every single knife here. I would suggest every single knife here. Each one of these knives are going to be geared towards something a little different, and they're all going to be better at different things. So without further ado, let's test out these knives. All right, we're going to get started here. Now, I just got one long continuous stick here. It's about the same thickness. I'm not going to sit there and try to count chops and stuff. Like people are retarded on that, and here's why I don't count chops, is because you're never going to sit there and perfectly chop in the same spot. And so, you know, I just kind of go based on time and such, and instead of scoring each of these as I go, I'm going to kind of go through them all and then give them a score. I'm going to change that up from how I did the last Showdown series. I'm going to start off with the one of my favorites for a long time, the LT Wright Forest Trail. Actually, one little caveat here to LT Wright. LT Wright, make these knives more. The Forest Trail, in my honest opinion, is your guys' best knife you've ever made, and it's very hard to get these. But let's start off with the Forest Trail. We'll just go ahead and get started here. Almost through it here. There we go. LT Wright Forest Trail. I will say it's a very comfortable handle, but it's also very smooth. So with this little hook on there, it's keeping me in hand, but I was having to reset just here and there because it's so smooth. All right, next on the list, we have the Terava Jaakaripuuko. Try to go right before this notch here. About the same thickness. And this one is the only one that's kind of a Scandi hybrid grind here. Oh, this one's going a little quicker than that LT Wright. That rubberized handle really keeps it in hand. And I think the balance is a little better for this. Wow. That one might be the one to beat, but we'll try to give them all a fair shot here. Let's move on to the next one. All right, next we have the Joker knives. Nomad. This is the thickest one. This one's like right around 1/4 inch thick, but that doesn't always mean everything. I've had some knives that are thicker and heavier, but yet doesn't chop as good as knives that are thinner and lighter. And it's all blade geometry more than anything. But let's give this one a try here. Oh, it does hit hard. I can feel that, but it does suffer from almost the same issue as the LT. It's just a very smooth handle. Ooh, it's going though. Wow. Yeah, the Nomad and the Jaakaripuuko, they both kind of went through that pretty decently. Let's move on to the next one. All right, next we have the Papa Bear knives, or now the primitive bear knives. Essential. This is one of the lightest knives here, so this one might have the hardest time, but you never know. Like I said, it's all about blade geometry more than anything. The way I'm going to be scoring these, I'm just going to kind of see about how long it took me, and I could really feel how much it's taken out. And how much I'm having to reset with it and stuff like that. There's going to be several variables here. So that one did take a little bit more work, but as you guys can see, it's a really deep clip point, so it doesn't really have much weight towards the end. Try out the last one here. All right, last but not least, we have the Lionsteel M5. This is actually the shortest blade on this list, but it is 3/16 thick of Sleipner steel with a high saber grind, so it should still be fairly decent. Let's give it a go here though. Mind you, this is a little bit more chopping than what I would ever use these knives for. Me personally, I would grab a larger knife or just an axe or hatchet for something this big. But we're just testing them out. Go at the back side here. Oh, there we go. This is still a fairly light knife. It's actually almost as light as the Papa Bear, even though it's thicker. But yeah, let's go ahead and kind of review these and score them. All right, so we're gonna kind of go through and score each one of these. Now, like I said, I did not count the amount of chops I did, because quite frankly, I think that's kind of a pain in the ass, and I think there's some flaws with that whole method. So I just kind of went on, I'm basing this off of time and just the amount of effort that it took me to cut through it. Also, you know, like I said, each one of these knives are a great knife. They're all going to do great at different things. We'll get started here with the LT Wright. The LT Wright, I kind of struggled just a little bit. It had a decent amount of bite to it, but with just that super smooth polished handle scales, and that's one thing I've always kind of disliked about LT Wright, is just how like too smooth their handles are. I did have to reset quite a bit with it. So 1 to 10, I'm gonna give this one a solid 6. I think it did okay, but there's a few that did better. Jaakaripuuko. This is the only one that I did not have to reset at all with it, really. Just that rubberized handle scale. I didn't get any slippage with that bird's beak on there. It actually did pretty good, even though it's only 5/32 thick and a narrow blade. I'm gonna give it a 10. It did really good. And with that being said, next to the Joker here, the Joker, I can tell it obviously had the most power with that full convex grind, or that convex grind, and that just thicker blade stock there. I did have to reset a couple times with it, but it did just make easy work. I'm also gonna give it a 10. The Papa Bear knives essential, it's the lightest knife here, especially with that clip, really deep clip point. It's not really lended to being much of a chopper, so I'm also gonna give it a 6. And then with the Lionsteel M5, I didn't have to reset as much with it. I did a couple times, but you know, kind of a caveat with all these here, the log that I was chopping was kind of way beyond what I would normally chop with a knife of this size. But the Lionsteel M5, I felt, at least in my experience here, I felt like it did a little better than the Papa Bear and the LT Wright. So I'm gonna give it a score of a 7. But that wraps up my part 2 of the chopping test of the camp knife Showdown. Be prepared, both physically and spiritually. God bless, and carry on.